Advocate on Court Association versus the Union of India 2015, often referred to as the fourth judge case, is a landmark decision by a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court of India. Honorable Court struck down the Constitution's 99th Amendment Act of 2014 and the National Judicial Appointments Commission NJAC Act 2014, holding them unconstitutional. The judgment reaffirmed the collegium system for judicial appointments in the higher judiciary. Friends, let us dive into background of the case. Collegium system was established by the Honorable Supreme Court in the second judge's case, 1993, and further refined in the third judge's case of 1998. The collegium system vests the power of appointment and transfer of judges in a body of senior judges of the Supreme Court headed by a Chief Justice of India. Critics argued that the system was opaque and lacked accountability. The NJAC Act sought to replace the collegium system with a National Judicial Appointments Commission comprising Chief Justice of India as the chairperson, two senior-most judges of the Supreme Court, the Union Minister of Law and Justice, two eminent persons selected by a committee consisting of Prime Minister, the CGI, and the Leader of Opposition. The Constitution's 99th Amendment Act 2014 provided constitutional status to the NJAC. The NJAC was challenged by the Supreme Court Advocate on Court Association and others who argued that it violated the basic structure doctrine, particularly the independence of the judiciary. So key issues in the case were basic structure doctrine. Does the NJAC violate the independence of the judiciary, which is part of the basic structure of the Constitution? Second issue was transparency versus independence. Can the NJAC ensure transparency in judicial appointments without compromising judicial independence? Third was the role of the executive. Does the inclusion of the executive and non-judicial members in the NJAC undermine the separation of power? So friends, Honorable Supreme Court gave its observation. First one was the independence of the judiciary. Judicial independence is a cornerstone of the Constitution and a non-negotiable aspect of the basic structure. The inclusion of the law minister and two other eminent persons in the NJAC gave the executive an undue influence over judicial appointments, threatening the judiciary's independence. The role of eminent person. The court noted the lack of clarity in the selection process for eminent persons and their potential susceptibility to political influence. Transparency versus independence. While the collegium system has flaws, the solution could not compromise judicial independence. The NJAC was seen as an overreach that risked undermining the judiciary's autonomy. Basic structure doctrine. The NJAC was held to be violate the basic structure doctrine, which protects the independence of the judiciary, separation of power, and rule of the law. So, judgment. Striking down NJAC, the court struck down the Constitution 99th Amendment Act 2014 and the NJAC Act, declaring them unconstitutional. Reaffirmation of the collegium system. The collegium system for judicial appointments was reinstated. Transparency in the collegium. The court acknowledged the collegium's shortcoming and invited suggestions to improve its functioning. So, the friends, significance of the judgment is first one, reaffirmation of judicial independence. The judgment reinforced the independence of the judiciary as an essential feature of the Constitution. Collegium system criticism. While the judgment upheld the collegium system, it acknowledged the need for reforms to address concerns about its opacity and lack of accountability. Basic structure doctrine. The decision expanded the doctrine, reaffirming the judiciary's role as the guardian of the Constitution and its independence as a vital element of the basic structure. So, friends, there is criticism also. Critics argue that judgment favored the status quo and missed an opportunity to bring much needed reform to the judicial appointment process. While striking down the NJAC, the court failed to provide immediate solution to the issues of transparency and accountability in the collegium system. Some commentators argued that the judgment excessively insulated the judiciary from executive influence, disrupting the balance envisioned by the framers of the Constitution. So, friends, after that judgment, the judgment directed the government to finalize a new memorandum of procedure for judicial appointments aiming to improve transparency and accountability in the collegium system. The decision reiterated debates over judicial reform with calls for a more balanced approach that ensures both independence and transparency in judicial appointments. So, nutshell conclusion of this case lies that is the Supreme Court Advocates on Court Association versus Union of India 2015 judgment upheld the primacy of the judicial independence while rejecting executive influence in judicial appointments. While it restored the collegium system, the judgment also acknowledged the need for reform to address its shortcomings. The decision remains a cornerstone of constitutional law, affirming the basic structure doctrine and judiciary's role as a bulwark of constitutional democracy.